One of the questions that I have been asked, and one of the questions that I used to wonder myself before I ever started a nursery, and it was all just a dream in my mind, I used to always wonder, how do you even get started with a nursery when you have no experience? And today I want to answer that question with 5 steps that you can take in no particular order to getting started on your very own backyard nursery. Let's dive in here and let's have a look. One of the first things that you've got to be able to answer is the question, where am I going to get my baby plants? So step 1 is acquiring plants. Just a couple of examples here. I have a beautiful little hosta here, beautiful little burning bush shrub here. And just to show you close-up examples of this is just a tiny hosta, just a gorgeous plant, a tiny little burning bush plant, but really the heart of backyard growing and the heart of being a nurseryman or a nursery woman at all is growing these little plants into larger plants that someone pays you good money for. You may acquire these for 50 cents a piece or $1 a piece or $2 a piece or nothing if you propagate them yourselves. And what you have to begin figuring out early in the process is, how am I going to acquire my plants? So you can do that through 2 or 3 methods. Number 1, through purchasing them as small plants from wholesalers. And there's a number of online wholesalers. You can go back in my YouTube channel and look at my video that I made on acquiring plants from wholesale nurseries. You can propagate them yourselves. The second way to acquire plants is to have a plant that makes more plants. That's what propagation is. It's making baby plants. That's part of the process of having a nursery, is learning how to do that on your own. And anybody can learn how to do it. You don't have to have a degree in horticulture. You don't have to have grown up in a greenhouse. You don't have to have a green thumb. You just have to be willing to learn some very basic skills on plants in order to learn how to propagate them. So that's an important step. A second step in starting your backyard nursery is thinking through how you're going to irrigate your plants. Now in my yard, in my nursery, I irrigate my plants mostly with just a simple hand watering wand. In fact, this wand here. And occasionally if I'm out of town or if I don't have time to hand water, I'll turn on a sprinkler. If I'm gonna be gone for an extended period of time, I've got a sprinkler that I can set on a timer. But you gotta figure out your watering situation, particularly for the heat of summer. Plants growing in pots just can't go days at a time in 90+ degree heat without being watered. So understand that the more plants you have and the further along you get into the growing of your nursery, your irrigation needs are going to have to be addressed. You have to make sure that you have a reliable and consistent source of water, especially for those long, hot summers. One of the bigger issues, I think, in backyard growing is figuring out where you're going to acquire your potting soil. Now, you may be thinking, oh, I'll just get some Miracle-Gro potting soil from my local box store in those yellow bags and I'll just use that. Well, that is not going to work in a situation where you're potting dozens or hundreds and hundreds of plants during a season, because it's cost prohibitive to do it. So what I do is I purchase a double ground hardwood bark mulch, which is from a local sawmill, and I mix it with a soil conditioner, which is a finely ground pine bark mixture, and it allows for your potting soil to drain well. You're going to be best served by sourcing your potting soil locally. What is available in your area? This may not be available in your area. Pine bark may not be available in your area. So you have to look and see what is. Use YouTube, use your local resources to find out bulk potting soil, how to make your own, and also how to find some in your. Another step that you can take in your backyard nursery in order to have success is figuring out your sourcing for your nursery supplies. For example, maybe the single most important supply you have in your nursery is your pots. You got to pot all of these plants in something. So where are you going to get your pots? You can always get them online from a source like amleonard.com or Greenhouse Megastore, many other nursery suppliers that are online, but you're probably better off finding them locally. I drive about an hour and 45 minutes to a nursery supply place for me, because I can buy hundreds or thousands of pots at a time for around 10 to 20 cents each, depending on the size of the pot. You may not live close to the nursery supply place that I live. You may have one in your area. You need to ask around, ask your local nursery people, ask your local landscapers. Landscapers can be treasure troves for free pots. Use Craigslist, use Facebook, use those resources to find free pots or very cheap used nursery pots. They're probably a little bit easier to acquire for a cheap price than you think they are. You also have supplies like fertilizer, pre-emergent, ground cover, things for weed control, maybe nursery tools, whatever it is that you need. It's not an overwhelming amount of things that you need, but as your nursery grows and as time goes on, you'll find yourself needing some basic nursery supplies, and you need to figure out where you're going to get them. A fifth step that you can take in having a successful start to your backyard nursery is to begin selling plants as soon as you have plants that are ready to sell. You don't have to have 100 or 200 or 1,000 plants to have a very successful plant sale. In fact, the very first plants that I ever sold were at a yard sale. We just had a simple rummage sale in my front yard, just getting rid of some old junk. And I stuck 10 emerald green arborvitas out there. That's how many plants I started my nursery with. And all 10 of them sold quickly. And I was amazed, and it just lit me up on the inside to know that somebody wanted to buy my plants. So I want to encourage you to acquire some plants, grow them out quickly, buy some plants that you can grow out to a sellable size quickly and get them sold and get you a little bit of cash coming in. And you're going to see that this really can work. Don't wait until you got it all figured out. And speaking of that, a sixth step. And I said it was 5 steps, but here's the 6th step. You have to refuse to allow yourselves to become paralyzed in this because of over-analysis. Listen, I feel like I know about 10% of what I need to know to be a real success in the nursery business, but I've gotten started and I'm just growing and growing and growing anyway, and every year it's more and more and more. In fact, I've got too many plants coming into this season, and I'm going to have to figure out what I'm going to do with all of this. Anybody can do it. You just have to get started. You got to take the first steps. And hopefully this video has been helpful in seeing some things that you can do to start moving towards beginning a backyard nursery. If this kind of content is helpful to you, I hope you'll subscribe to my channel and turn the notifications bell on so you'll know when all of my new content comes out. Savvy Dirt Farmer signing off. Hope every one of you watching is having a great day.